And if the Nigerian Ports Authority even needs to make budgetary provision for it, we'll start doing that in phases, starting from 2024. But it is important that we have these scanners to reduce this prevalence of 100% physical examination. We understand the need to have 100% physical examination in instances where it is necessary, but let it be because it's necessary and not because there are no scanners. And I also want to thank you now on another point, the issue of overtime cargo. A committee was set up where Nigerian Customs led, and an assessment has been done. Everyone has gone around the ports, and we know the impact of overtime cargo on the activities of terminal operators. It has occupied a lot of economic space and is creating difficulty in clearing of cargo that should leave the ports because there isn't space. The ports are very small. You have appointed a committee, and I think the auction has actually started, the bid has started. The export containers, the overtime containers are being moved to some locations. But in our initial discussion, we have asked that all the money Nigerian Ports Authority spent should also be recouped. We have moved cargo to Ikorodu, and we are also going to be involved in other expenditures, even in funding the committee. But when we saw the circular, we saw that there was a mistake. Somebody you instructed did not do what you instructed him. They forgot to they forgot to add Nigerian Ports Authority as one of the agencies of government that will share from the sales of the overtime cargo. And I believe that you will instruct them to correct that mistake, because we have really spent a lot of money when it comes to overtime cargo. If we're able to do that, we also plead that it be made a regular thing, whether it's quarterly or once a year, but let it be something that is, you understand, institutionalized. We don't need to wait for 10 years, 5 years before we auction these things, because some of the containers have been there for so long. But the first time we met you, you promised this would be done, and I'm so happy to see that already containers have started leaving the terminals to locations where they'll be auctioned from. That shows that you are listening, and we thank you so much. We'll keep coming to you, and we look forward to more collaboration with you.
And we believe that in customs, port efficiency would help to facilitate trade. NPA, through all its programs, is trying to promote the competitiveness of our ports. This aligns with our vision, because many Nigerians are diverting their things across the neighboring ports, and we must do everything to ensure that our ports remain competitive so that our cargo and the economy is driven by our ports. And finally, we want to make our ports more efficient. When our ports are more efficient, it will translate into better efforts in revenue generation. So anything and everything that will help to reduce the time and the costs it takes to conduct business in our ports are those things that we are going to be exploring the collaboration with NPA. And I'm happy that you have mentioned all of them. And if you go through all of these areas that you have mentioned, they all speak to ensuring that we have better ports, more efficient ports, more competitive ports, and ports that speaks to our needs. Now, the issue of port congestion, we discussed it, those early days when I came into office. And what was the motivation? I looked at the policy advisory document of the new government, and port decongestion is one of the major things that was stated in those things. Of course, the deployment of technology, we were talking about single window when we were coming, the automation of our procedures. These are all things that will help us to speed up the clearance of goods in our ports and then give us the desired effect of trade facilitation and revenue generation. So we stand here to pledge our commitment and our readiness to sign up to all those plans, all those initiatives that will help us to promote this ideal. I'm happy that you made reference to the modest effort of my controllers in the ports. I was discussing with one of them on the issue of 24-hour clearance, 24-hour operations in the ports. For those who have been in this environment for quite some time, they will remember that we had actually tried this, some 10, 15 years ago. We had some issues, some challenges. People said, oh, we need security around the port areas, that the banks will not operate, that the police has to maintain round-the-clock protection and things like that. But I believe that we must have to start one way. We must have to start in a way. It is only when we do not make any trial that we will fail even before we start. The port, the concessioning of the ports that started in 2005, 2006, started with a lot of glitches. Gradually, we started overcoming them, and before we get to the stage where we have now. The automation of customs procedures started with a lot of glitches. Now we are perfecting them. We've automated virtually all the business processes in customs, and we are still trying to go beyond that. So let us take on board those expected challenges that we have if we start 24-hour operations. So I will pledge customs commitment to it, and like I told the controller, on one of those nights, I will lead customs inspection to a particular port unannounced, to see our operations, to see customs processing declarations. But you know, like I have always said, you cannot clap with one hand. So when we process and release, the terminal operators must be there to load the containers. The people at the gate must be there to open the gates. The shipping companies must be there to do TDO and things like that. So we must have to start somewhere, even if it means taking the port to run a pilot, if that is the route we want to take. But somehow, this is the only way in which we can start, make mistakes, correct them, and then we move forward. I'm happy you've raised a number of issues about Ikorodu, and I believe that Ikorodu has so many solutions to the problems that we have in the main port. I'm happy you've raised a number of issues about Ikorodu, and I believe that Ikorodu has so many solutions to the problems that we have in the main port, in terms of decongestion, in terms of providing dual transportation system, in terms of providing us warehouse, in terms of providing alternative for exports. These are all options that we will be willing to work with NPA for us to explore fully, tap into the opportunities they provide so that we can give our ports can actually breathe and it can become more efficient. So there are a number of issues. You talked about mistakes that were made in the letters and things like that. Yes, we will review those circulars and see whether there were actually some errors. But for maintenance of Ikorodu, if you remember that, in 2005, 2006, when the concession started, we also have to get together like this and said, okay, some errors have been made. If warehouses are not provided in the mother ports, what do we do? That was when we came up with the Ikorodu solution. So now that we have gotten to a point where there are issues, contending issues that require clarification and better understanding, what I would propose is that we come together again through small committees. My ACG has done a wonderful job already. I had all the documents that he has shown, that he has given to me, documents that provided the governing mechanism for Ikorodu, documents that talked about the lease period, the fees to be paid, and the arrangements that are governing the lease that was given to us. And of course, the duration. All those documents are there. So if there are issues regarding interpretation or application of those documents, maybe we need to get back on the discussion table, and then we will talk them over, and hopefully we'll be able to reach some understanding. But I can tell you that I have an open mind in all of this, and I'm a very realistic person. I believe that when we sit down and dialogue, we can always reach mutually beneficial conclusion on these issues. Finally, the issue of scanners. Scanner is recommended for us as a tool for trade facilitation. Under the TFA agreements, the WCO and the WTO imposes the obligation on all customs administrations to employ all of these tools to, particularly the use of non-intrusive technology, to drive their operation. And that's one of the reasons why we can describe a customs administration as modern or not. The Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023 also mandates the use of these tools and equipment. So we have the legal environment for it, the framework, the legal framework for it has been provided. The best practice that is available in other customs administration also suggests the use of scanners. And of course, we started them, but because they were poorly maintained, a good number of them are no longer functioning. So we had some discussions. I would be happy to follow up with those discussions with the IR authorities in Abuja to see how we can put these machines to use where they are existing and where they are not, to see how we can quickly get investors in terms of the existing framework of public-private partnership so that they can install these scanners and get our ports working once again. It is International Customs Day tomorrow. We had extended our invitation for participation to the MD, and I'm happy to announce that he has accepted to grace the occasion of the International Customs Day. Maybe what I should not announce so that the press will not hear it today is that the MD is one of the award winners that we have selected for special recognition tomorrow. I believe the press has not heard this, and I know that they will not report it until tomorrow. Thank you very much.